So this is probably the biggest part of the presentation right here that has changed the most in the last 3 years. And it has really changed a lot. What's on the screen right now on this slide is primarily based on Division I. And what's going to happen over the next few years is going to be really interesting with the recruiting process, because there's other sports, softball, lacrosse, that is very common to get verbal commitments, gymnastics, from freshmen in high school, 8th graders. Golf is recruiting freshmen in high school. Okay, they go out, they recruit these athletes, they get a verbal commitment. Great, you're going to play the next 4 years of high school knowing exactly where you're going, you hope. Now, what also happens in those sports is one of those guys says, I don't know if I really want to play that much golf anymore. And they kind of go away, okay, well now I'm going to go use my offer somewhere else. Or somebody gets hurt, and that changes how they perform. Or that promising 9th grader all of a sudden doesn't blossom the way they thought they were going to blossom. You know, we're not getting, that scholarship's not there for you anymore. There's nothing binding anybody to a scholarship until your senior year. So just keep in mind that's mostly for that Division I level. I mean, Division III doesn't have athletic scholarships, and then most of them are in a lot of Division II schools are enrollment based. So they're going to be looking at, you know, basically when you put in applications, that's going to be most of their recruiting timeline. They may try to get some early commitments, but basically what used to happen is on the left side of that, freshmen just kind of, hey, this is a lot of fun. I'm going to keep swimming. Somebody talked about college swimming. That's fine. I'll figure it out. You know, sophomore year, you kind of look around and go, ooh, this might be something I want to do. Maybe at the end of your sophomore year, it's like, okay, I think I want to do this. Your junior year, you start making a list. You'd register with the NCAA, start reaching out. Maybe you can fill out some questionnaires. And then the big day, it used to be, was July 1 before your senior year. That was when coaches were allowed to call student athletes. My experience personally, I was very fortunate to have a great parents and a great club, and I was recruited, and I enjoyed that process, but it's not for everyone. I think I got like 14 or 15 calls on July 1st, and it was just one after the other. Hey, this is the coach at Tennessee, how you doing? Hey, this is the coach at Georgia, how you doing? And you know, that was it. And we didn't use email a lot at that point. That was, you know, that wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was 2000, you know, 2001, 2000 maybe. So I don't think it was that long ago, but I mean, we really did. I mean, nobody really used email. I mean, I didn't have a Gmail address at that point. And so it was the main way to kind of, that was it. And you determined your worth on who got called on July 1. And that was really the case up until almost about 3 years ago. The thing is, the NCAA never has really regulated electronic communication. You can email your junior year, and an athlete can always call a coach. So between the combination of those things, people figured out that they can email an athlete, say, hey, give me a call at 8:30 tonight. Okay, pick up the phone, call the coach at 8:30, I'm going to have a perfectly normal recruiting conversation. That was legal. As long as the coach did not dial the athlete your junior year, you're fine. And so people have started to recruit that way. Hey, I'm going to send you a text. I'm available at 9 o'clock tonight. Can you give me a call? Sure, as long as the athlete calls, they can have that conversation. As long as the athlete is the one physically dialing the number, it was fine. So a lot of the recruiting started to happen during the junior year. Started pushing that earlier. Now, again, that was for a lot of our top ranked athletes. You know, people trying to get the jump on another school. Let me get to this athlete first. You know, and you know, I'm going to beat Texas to this athlete. I'm going to call him first. And well, then you have the athletes that may not be at a high performance level going, oh my gosh, all these spots are filling up, all the scholarships going, I got to get on this. So they start hitting the keyboard. I'm going to set up a bunch of calls to these coaches, but you know, coaches are by and large going to pick the athlete, you know, those top 30 athletes at that level or so, and go after them. And so it started to create a little bit of a panic effect, and now you see a lot of people committing. Now, what you don't see is why they're committing. There was a girl last year, this recent winter, I think it was February, one of the first that came out, you know, junior, committed to Tennessee. Our big article on SwimSam, right? So-and-so commits to Tennessee. Very little, you know, talked about her high school career. And I remember I pulled it up for some reason because it was one of the first ones. I'm like, who is this? And I scrolled down. It's like, my gosh, she didn't even have winter junior cuts. What is she doing? And I had a buddy at Tennessee, so I texted him, said, hey, so you saw that commitment, what's going on? He goes, oh yeah, she's some of the club team here. She knew she was going to Tennessee from day one. You know, her mom works in the academic department. She's walking on, like she gets tuition paid for. I wouldn't have known that. You know, according to SwimSlam, she committed early. You know, everybody's, oh my gosh, she must have gotten a huge scholarship. No, her parents worked at Tennessee. She was going there from the beginning. So it's not necessarily what you see on SwimSlam that's really happening out there. So beware of this. And this is the hardest part of this conversation, I think, for our club and for you guys. I think the hardest thing that's going to come up in the next few years is there is going to be a big separation of pathways. athletes in the top 30 in the country and of sophomore year, if you're ranked in the top 30 in the country your sophomore year, you're going to start getting a lot of attention. They're going to get a lot of pressure put on them and make decisions, commit that early, make verbal commitments. And then there's going to be a big group of athletes that are great swimmers. I'm talking about winter junior national swimmers. They're going to be told, hold on, yeah, we're not there yet. Just wait. And we're not interested yet. Why don't we just stay in touch? And we're just going to have to watch other people commit, and different people are going to go different places for different reasons. And don't forget, there's going to be a person that calls up a school and says, hey, I academically, I can get into Harvard, but I want to go to UNC. I'm in state, so I'm okay to walk on. Can I just commit now and be done? Okay, sure. Come on in. And then that's going to get posted on SwimSlam. Don't think that's taken away a scholarship or a spot. There's a lot of that's going to happen in the next few years, and it's going to be really hard to discern what's going on. At the same time, you're going to have some Division III schools that are going to stay on the same pathway. Some Division II schools are going to stay on the same timeline. Hey, we're going to talk to juniors, and we're going to talk to a couple seniors, and your senior year, we're going to have you come out on a recruiting trip and see if you like it. And when you go ahead and apply, and if you get in, we'll set up some scholarship talk, and maybe we'll go from there. So there's going to be this really big discrepancy across swimming. And my encouragement to all of you and parents as well is be really careful how you compare yourself to other people. Don't let comparison drive your decisions. Don't let comparison take you off track of finding the right course. I think that's really important, and it's going to be really difficult because and there's going to be some really easy ways. Like, oh my gosh, well, 8 people have committed to the school already. There's no way I can get in anymore. If you follow some of the guidelines on getting in touch with coaches, you ask good questions, you're going to find out whether it's a good fit or not. And you'll find out they're going to say, hey, we would love to have you. We're excited about you, but we have a couple other people on our list, and when we get past that, if there's still room, we're going to let you know. Don't hang on to that one school. Go find a couple others, because you just don't know what's going to happen. But that's going to happen more and more. Also with the timeline, this has not happened yet. It happens in football. You don't hear about it often. But somebody gets a full scholarship, right? They get a full offer. They're going to go to the school for a full ride. And the week of signing date, coach calls them up, says, hey, you know what? The tight end down the street's caught 50 more balls than you. We're going to go with him. Sorry, we don't have a full ride for you anymore. He's got a week to figure it out. So have a couple options. And that happens in football a lot. It doesn't happen in swimming. Swimming's a small world. People know if you change something, they know that's going to be looked on pretty poorly. And so they generally won't do that, but it's going to start happening. The other thing some colleges will do is they know let's say they have one scholarship to give out. They're going to take their top 3 recruits. They're going to call their top 3 recruits and go, hey, we got a full scholarship for you, all 3 of them. Because they know they're going to play the odds that 2 people are going to turn it down. Well, by and large, somebody I'm sure is going to call, well, actually, you waited too long. Now it's only 50%. That's going to start happening. And the other way, somebody's going to commit somewhere. You're going to say, look, you know what? I think that mid-major Division I school is the right fit for me. I fit in their conference. I'm going to be a great scoring. I'm just off of their team records. I'm going to be. I really want to be a team captain of the school. They got a great academic program. I'm going to commit there. Got it. Junior year. Okay. Next summer, you just take off. You whatever it is, you find the magic pill. You shoot through the roof. You're going to senior national. You got your Olympic trial cut. All of a sudden, the coach from Duke calls you up and goes, "Hey, I got a spot for you." You're going to go, yeah, you know what? That mid-major school was nice, but I can go to Duke. I think I'm going to do that now. And now that school is left holding the bag, right? So both things are going to start happening. I don't think it's good. If you talk to every coach that I've talked to has said, this is terrible. Can I have your list of sophomores, please? Every single one of them. It's without fail, because their jobs depend on it. They're in a competitive environment. They don't like it, but they're forced into it. And what's going to happen, and I think the best way to do this, the best coaches out there are getting really good at looking at what clubs are doing. They're looking at the attitude of the kids. They're looking at how you talk, how you handle yourself. They're looking for technical things in the water. They're looking for people that can grow. Because they know, especially on the boys' side, I didn't say it earlier, but this year at NCAA's, on both the men's and women's, about the same on the men and women's side, 9% of the total points scored were by freshmen. So you think about that for a second. 9%. Freshmen represent the largest population of college swimmers. There are more freshmen than any other class because more people, there's more attrition as you go on. So the largest class scored only 9% of the points at the championship meet. That means that people that are going to college are generally not making an impact at that level for 2 to 3 years at a minimum. College coaches are looking for people that can grow. They're looking for traits that show them you are willing to grow, you're willing to stick it out, you're willing to get better as you go, you're willing to learn, you're tough, you're disciplined, you're not looking for the quick fix. That's what they're going to want to look for. So just something to keep in mind. So I'll go through this. I kind of got a slide per year. So you're in 8th grade, you're a freshman. Most important, love what you're doing. Be happy where you're at. Come to practice. Learn to love the sport. Learn to love being challenged. Be excited about it. Get good grades, like really good ones. A lot of swimmers are really, I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to use the word smart. A lot of swimmers are really accomplished in the classroom. Okay, they work at it. Different people have to work at it different ways, but a lot of swimmers are great academically. You're competing with a lot of great people. Look around, 8th grade, freshman year, start to watch. You all in this room have such an advantage over us from 10 or 15 years ago. It was almost impossible to watch NCAA swimming at any level 10 years ago. You can get it online, you can stream it, you can stream dual meets, you can get recaps, you can get interviews. I despise Swim Swam for a lot of things, but that's one of the things they do is, man, they've got a great coverage of NCAAs. They got write-ups, they got articles, they've got comment sections. You can get it. You can dive into great detail about what's going on at NCAA level, and it's something good. So start doing that. Start looking around. Start figuring out what's going on. This is a big one. Start to learn your own strength. This is something we haven't really. This is really hard. We're asking 13 or 14-year-olds to kind of figure out what they're good at or not good at, and that's a really young age to do that. But start being aware of how you react to different things. Do you have a big class in high school and you really struggle in it? Is it a small one that you do better? Start to understand things like that. Sophomores, you start making a list, 15 to 20 schools. I say this every year, do not copy ESPN's football rankings. That is not a good place to start, okay? Or basketball rankings or whatever. That is not a starting place. So start with things like, hey, I'm going to start a couple small schools, simple speed school. Mom, where did you go to school? Dad, where did you go to school? Where did my neighbor go to school? Maybe start looking at those places, start to figure it out. Have that conversation about financial guidelines. Eligibility center, I think this needs to happen your sophomore year. You need to start, there's an eligibility center for the NCAA. You have to go and you register. This is basically to make sure you're not a 28-year-old Lithuanian that's been a pro for 10 years, which nobody in this room is. But go ahead and register with them, because what's going to happen is that goes back to the coach's side, and they'll be able to pull up your information. They'll see your contact information on that side, and they'll know, hey, this person is basically above board, right? They're certified to compete in the NCAA. I don't have to worry about it too much. I think by the end of your sophomore year, it's okay to start reaching out, making some initial contact, fill out a questionnaire. We'll talk a little bit more about that. They can't talk back to you yet. Coaches aren't allowed to talk to you as a sophomore, so just understand you're not going to get anything back. But it doesn't hurt you to send out hey, I'm really interested, be headed into my junior year. I'm excited about that. If you get a chance to visit a campus, maybe on a swimming trip, whatever it is, and you're way back in between sessions, whatever it is, obviously don't go during a championship meet or something that's going to hurt your performance. But if you get a chance to walk around a campus, most campuses give tours, and they have nothing to do with the athletic department. You can absolutely do that. You cannot go talk to the coach and say, hey, can you walk me around campus? They won't be able to do that. They really won't be able to meet you. If you walk into the pool and they're standing there, they may say, hey, but they're not allowed to talk to you yet until your junior year. So as a sophomore, if you get a chance to look around, see what's going on. And as always, start looking ahead in swimming. Be motivated by looking ahead, but keep your love for what you're doing. Make sure that you're swimming because you love swimming. You're not starting to swim because you want to go to college. If you show up every day to practice because you have to do this to go to college, it makes for a really, really long season. I'm telling you right now, I've had that exact conversation with no less than 8 people on this team that are going to Division I schools with a scholarship. In their senior year, I've had to sit down and say, why are you here? What are you doing? You drug your butt in here. Oh, I just can't. I'm not motivated anymore. Why'd you show up? Well, last year I had to get to junior so I could get my whatever. And it's like, okay, tell me why you showed up when you were in Coach Terry's group. Oh, because all my friends were here. Well, let's show up for that. Let's go back to that. That's why you do this. Don't get caught up in doing this for an outcome. Juniors, and this is where paths are really going to diverge, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. This is where things are going to start to get. Some people are going to get sucked into recruiting trips. Some people are not going to get a recruiting trip at all. Some people won't get a phone call back. That doesn't mean you won't end up in the right spot. You won't end up where you want to end up. It's just there's going to be so much variability in how schools handle this year. Different programs are going to do different things. There is no way to say what is right or wrong or what schools are going to do. You do your thing, follow your path, stay in the driver's seat, and keep making sure you're finding the right fit. You do those things, you're going to be okay. This is also the point at which I think you really need to work on the timelines. If you get in touch with somebody, it may be a coach, and maybe you need to get in touch with the admissions department of the school. It's a little helpful hint, I'll get to it. You can always reach out to an admissions officer at a school. Some school, like Queens had they were assigned by region, different place, some local, some throughout the state or the southeast, but they were great. If you called them and you were a parent and said, hey, I just need to know how do I apply, where do we get in, what financial aid is available, they could take you through everything. I said, oh yeah, you're an athlete, that's great. The coach is going to be able to do this at this point, but by and large, we're going to need all these things. So start working on this, and that's a great reference to have to give you a time frame on, how the school is going to, what applications are going to need to be due and how much things cost and things like that. If you do get in touch with coaches, if you're on that track, and I put most of my bullet points here, but your best thing to do at this point is just establish a pattern of contacts. Hey, I'm going to talk to you. Is it okay if we chat every month? I'd just really like to get to know you. Can we talk one more time this fall before my meet in December? I'd love to get to know a little bit more about your program and how they're doing. But just kind of trying to find a pattern of contact to kind of get established with that coach. Again, coaches are going to look for connections. They're going to look for people that grow. You can't get that from a couple phone calls. You have to work at it. You have to have conversations. It has to be with an athlete. It's not going to work coming from a parent. And just keep in mind, this is where we're really going to start to diverge. There is a very few select people that should really be committing at this point. It's okay if that's the way your pathway goes, but just keep in mind that's not going to be for everybody. Seniors, this is going to be, you can't really sign any paperwork till November. And a lot of people are going to make final decisions on this based on applications when they get those back. So just keep in mind, this is when things are kind of get firmed up. And a lot will still happen the summer before your senior year and the fall of your senior year as far as figuring out where you're going to go. Keep in mind that there's a second signing date in the spring. It's kind of often overlooked. A lot of people think they got to make their decision in the fall. There's another chance, and I'm going to get to why the NCAA has signing dates. But the signing date in the spring, if you feel like you didn't get the opportunity you wanted, or maybe you didn't hear back, or maybe you didn't get an offer and you wanted to keep looking, there's always some opportunities in the spring of your senior year to get into a college swimming program. It takes, you got to follow the same process, right? Be in touch with people, be communicating. Coaches might tell you that, hey, right now, it sticks out to me, and I know this isn't for everybody, but Northwestern did this a lot. Said, look, we've got 5 or 6 people we're recruiting. We have 5 admission spots. After the fall, I'll know if 2 of those are still left, and I'll give you a call. You're on the next on the list. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but just keep in mind that that's still an option.